Break down your Xfinity Series debut for us.
Oh, it was awesome. It was so much fun. It was just a great experience. Like, all I wanted out today was a good, clean race, be able to make all the laps and really just take in as much information as I possibly could. And we were able to do that. The guys gave me a great car, and we were able to do something with it. So I can't thank Christine enough and for enough for putting this deal together. So we were able to have a pretty fun day, pretty clean day, and super happy.
How come that seemed better than your last Brazilian truck races?
I think that there's a lot of different factors in it. There's the way people race you. It could be more so maybe the equipment. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that go into the racing side of it. I put a lot of work into every truck race, but I put a lot of work on the sim time. I had great people around me that were really, really trying to help me as much as I could. And I think just sometimes when you get different pieces to the puzzle work together, sometimes things work out better. So I don't know, the truck series, I also do feel like the field is very deep for equipment, for A-level equipment. So that also could play a huge factor in it. But I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
How many laps do you feel like it took you to get really comfortable behind the wheel?
I'd say once we really got into that second stage to third stage, that's when I started feeling a lot better about it. The change that we made, one change that wasn't great, it put us back a little bit with the back pit stop, but I think that once we were able to overcome that, get back around the people that we were running with before, and feel out how the car was transitioning, how the balance would change over run, I feel like that's where we really started learning a lot. So definitely third stage, we fired off too free, but I was able to notice that, be able to do my little in-car adjustments that I needed to band-aid it, and the car came in good late in the run.
Do you, although it's only one race, is there a little bit more of a comfort with this type of car, with what you have to do as a driver compared to the truck, or is it too early to be able to kind of tell in what kind of fits you look better? Because sometimes some series fits it for one driver better than another.
Yeah, I think the truck stuff is very, very dependent on equipment, because there's a lot of tracks you go to, a lot of mile and a half you go to where you're wide open in qualifying, almost wide open in the race. You'll be wide open for 20 laps, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll crack out of it a little bit. So like, it becomes very dependent on equipment when the racing's like that. So in the Xfinity car, you can crack out of it 3/4 throttle, you can jump out of the gas, get back in it, use the brake a little bit, be able to change from front rear brake and do your stuff to be able to make it better in the car. And I feel like there's just so much more potential to do more with a car like that. Whereas when you have to hold it wide open, there's not much you can do. It's almost out of your control.
Maybe almost more input, a driver input.
Yeah, I'd say there's just a little bit more that's put back in your hands because you're having to do more in the car.
You mentioned the YouTube video last week that you wanted your first start to be on 1.5 miles. Same with trucks 2 years ago. Why do you feel like this sort of racing suits you?
I wish I knew. I don't know why. I was so comfortable on 1.5 miles. So I feel like it's just something that when I was starting on my career that I was able to excel at quicker than anything else. I was able to be comfortable. I was like instantly comfortable when I was able to run on 1.5 miles. So maybe it's because my first truck start was there at Kansas, and I was able to like learn all my information off of that. But I just feel like 1.5 miles for some reason, I like them. I love them.
Was there something about Vegas specifically that made you want to come here? Or?
I mean, there's a lot of 1.5 you could go to and stuff, but I guess just timing wise with Christine coming on board and what we could make happen by the end of the year, I think just this worked out perfectly. And also I wanted to be on a race on the West Coast and be able to make my start where somewhere that was one of my higher 1.5 miles.
What do you think is the biggest lesson you learned as a race car driver today?
So the biggest lesson that I learned, I think there's a lot that I learned today. I think I learned pretty much just starting fresh today. I think there's a lot that I can work on. I think definitely restarts, making moves. Some of mine were good. I had a couple that weren't so good. So I think from learning from those, I can learn a lot. But I feel like I learned so much. I haven't got to process it yet and like figure out everything. But I'm just happy we were able to have a good run.
Is this something that could lead you to, because the comfort factor was to go to Xfinity next year full time, or is how does today kind of help play into that? Or?
I mean, always when you run great, it helps deals for the future. But at the end of the day, running Xfinity costs a very big bill, and you got to have sponsors pay that bill. So just trying to get the funding set is definitely tough, but we're still trying to figure out what we're doing. I wish I had answers for you guys. I really wish I do because I want answers myself. But at the end of the day, the more sponsors you have, the better. So we're still working on trying to get some more deals on board, and we don't know when that's going to be. It could be next year, it could be 2 years. I don't know. I wish I had an idea. As of now, not this year. But unless something comes up, unless someone runs after me with a couple $100 grand, no.
You've worked a lot with Troy throughout your whole career. Did you talk up to him, or did he help you again in preparation to this race?
I mean, there was a lot of people that helped me this race. There was a lot of input from a lot of people, but I'd say the person that helped me the most was David Reagan, and he's there at every sim session with me. There's so many great people around me and so many great resources to help out that I think that everyone had like a little piece of the puzzle today.
And then if David told you yesterday that you'd finished 13th today, would you say he's crazy, or?
I'd be pretty stoked.
Yesterday, when you strapped into the Xfinity car for the first time, aside from like getting, you're fitted for your seats or whatever, is that the first time you've ever been in an Xfinity car?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first time.
What was that feeling like going off the pit road here for practice?
It was different, very different. Just even vision-wise, the way you see out the windshield in a truck, it's just totally different. The angle of the windshield, I feel like I'm sitting so much higher in an Xfinity car, whereas like a truck, you're sitting so low. And so there's just a lot of different things that you have to get used to, but because of being able to use the Ford simulator, I was able to get pretty used to that within 2 or 3 laps. So I feel like those 12 hours I put in on the Ford sim definitely paid off. And so I was super happy about that, and it worked out.
It was 12 hours on the sim?
I went like, yeah, about 12 hours. Not including my sim at home.
Of all the laps you ran today, who would you say was your toughest competitor on the racetrack?
Oh, I think there was so many people that are tough to race out there. I think me and the 51 were going at it at the end, but it was nice because it was super respectful, super clean. Nothing dirty happened. Like, it was just good, clean racing, like good, clean, hard racing. And there was a lot of good battles. There's a lot of good competitors today.
David Starr was your teammate with SS Greenlight Racing. Did you get to visit with him, chat with him? Did you guys get to debrief or get to talk pre-race?
Yeah, I talked a little bit to him before yesterday and stuff, and obviously today was a little bit quicker day. And a lot of things start happening quick when you have to race at noon. But I talked to him for a little bit. Also, Riley helped me a lot because our sim sessions, the way they like overlap and stuff. So I was able to talk to him. Also, he's one of my friends, so I felt comfortable to reach out to him for some advice. But there's been a lot of drivers to reach out and want to help out, and like just advice here and there. When you live in North Carolina, right in the hub of NASCAR racing, you run across a lot of faces during the day. So just been a lot of people that were willing to help me.
I know you finished 13th, so outside the top 10. You have a few truck top 10s, but where would you kind of rank this in terms of accomplishments?
I'd say it's a pretty high accomplishment. Definitely a pretty high accomplishment. When you move up a level, the drivers get better, competition gets tougher, tighter, and when you're able to run pretty decently, I think that it definitely is an impacting moment.
Realistically, what were you aiming for going into the day?
My goal was I'd be super happy if I got top 15. I'd be ecstatic if I got top 10. But there was no wrecks out there, so there wasn't much opportunity to pick off a few more at the end.
Speaking of accomplishments, you got to drive for Bobby Daughter.
Yeah, he's a good guy, really good guy.
But what does that feel like to be able to drive someone that legendary?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of team owners out there that have a lot of experience in the racing world. And it's cool for someone be able to drive for someone like him and be able to pick his brain on racing and just hear old racing stories. It's my favorite, hearing old racing stories, and like how they say, back when I was racing a truck and stuff, and like who they're racing, different things like that. I think it's cool being around it, and like when you're so involved in the NASCAR world, you're around it quite a bit. So he's been super, super nice, super helpful, and really happy he helped put this deal together.
Maybe
So let's say
Bobby on one of your YouTube videos.
You might be in this one.
So let's say 60 years from now, you're sitting back thinking on this race in the rocking chair. What are you going to remember most about it?
If I'm alive in 60 years, I'm going to be pretty pumped. I do some pretty cool stuff. But I don't know. I hope we have some bigger moments than this, to be honest. This is a start for me. This is something to build off of. It's a good start, good base, but I do hope we accomplish more than this.
Any young racer watching or listening to this, what would you tell them if they're trying to accomplish their goals?
Gotta put some time into it. Gotta put a lot of time into it. More time than you usually have in the day. So it's just, you gotta keep working at it every single day, every hour you have. If you're doing something else, you probably could be working on your career.
Thanks for your time.
Perfect.